In this lesson, we want to add a map to the project and make it like this. So you have a map, and by clicking on this Find My Location, you will be able to see your location on the map and change it by dragging and by clicking. So follow me on this lesson if you'd like to know how. Okay, here is the roadmap for this lesson. We are going to continue from step 6, that is adding the map to the checkout page. I'm going to use the Leaflet npm package for showing the map on the screen. So let's add it to the project first. So from the terminal, select new terminal, go to the frontend directory, then write npm install Leaflet. We just installed the Leaflet package successfully. Leaflet is a JavaScript library. Since we want to use it inside the TypeScript, we need to add its types. Let's install Leaflet types. So write npm install --save-dev @types/leaflet. We normally install the types through the VS Code, but this time I just wanted to add it at the beginning. The next important step is adding Leaflet CSS styles to the angular.json, because at the end, the Angular will merge all the JavaScript and all the CSS files together. So it should know which file it needs to merge. So we need to add the file to it. Okay, go to the Explorer and open up the angular.json. Scroll down to the place that you see styles. Here, as you can see, we already added the toaster. Now we want to add the Leaflet CSS. So go to the node modules, write Leaflet, then it will find the Leaflet for you. Open it up, go to the dist folder, right click on the Leaflet CSS and select copy relative path. Then come over here, put a comma, double quotes, and paste it here. Since angular.json is already inside the frontend folder, remove it from here. So it starts from node module, leaflet, dist, and leaflet.css. So we did this part. Close the angular.json and check out the next step, that is adding AddressLatLng to the order model. So when the user selects a location on the map, it will be saved inside this field. Let's go to the order model. Click here to collapse everything, then go to the front end, src, app, and shared, models, and select order model. Here after the address, let's add AddressLatLng with the type of lat.lng. This lat.lng is coming from the leaflet, and it holds the latitude and longitude of the location, and that's all we want from an address. Okay, this step is done. Let's close the order and let's go for creating the map component. So from the view menu, select terminal, clear everything here, then write ng gc for generating the component inside components folder, partials folder with the name of map, then press enter. The terminal says that it is created. Let's close the terminal. And first of all, since we want to use the map component inside the checkout page, let's add it to the checkout page. So from the components, pages, checkout page, and checkout page component HTML file, here inside the div with the class of map, after the app title, let's add app-map. I think it's better to be only map instead of app-map. So hold the control down or hold the command down in macOS and click on it. So you will go inside the component, and inside the selector, remove the app dash from the beginning. Now come back to the checkout page component and remove it from here too. Here we go. Very beautiful. Now let's check it out inside the browser. Let's go to the cart page and click on proceed to checkout. Here you can see that we have map works. So we have it here and we can start working on it. Get back to the code. Here, first of all, instead of TS file, I want to start from the HTML file, because TS file needs an empty tag inside the HTML file. Okay, let's close the checkout page component for now and click on map component TS file. Click on here and select HTML file. Clear everything here. Then write div class container and a div with the reference of map, the class of map, that is the placeholder for the map here. This hashtag map is an Angular syntax that you can be able to have access to this div here inside this file and from the map component TS file. But for now, let's leave it here and go to the map component TS file. The first thing that we want to add here is a decorator with the name of ViewChild. ViewChild that is part of Angular core. Its responsibility is selecting a tag from the view file, that is HTML file, and putting it inside the field. Its first property is selector, and since we are using Angular reference, we can directly write the name of the reference here. So we just need to write map, and I want to say static true, and a static true makes it available inside ng on init. Since we don't have any dynamic if else statement or for each statement, we can easily use it as static. Let's add the field name that I want to say it is map ref. It's required and it is of type element reference. So by writing this code, when this component is showing, we have access to this div here. The second field that I want to add here is map, the actual map that is of type map. And this map is part of Leaflet, and it is required too. Here I want to add a method for initializing the map. I want to name it initialize map. Inside it, I want to say if the map is already initialized, just return. So if this.map has value, it means the map is already initialized, okay? Otherwise, we need to set this.map is equal to map. That is a leaflet function. You should know that the map with capital M is the map type, and map with the lowercase m is for creating the map. So we need to use the small map function for creating our leaflet map. Press enter. As the first parameter, it needs the element. And since we have the map reference here, we can easily write this.mapref .native element. This element ref is part of Angular, but it has the native JavaScript element as a property inside it, so you can use it anytime you want. Second parameter is the option. First of all, here I want to disable the attribution control, so it will not show the leaflet on the bottom right of the map. Then we need to set the default view, where it should show as the default location. So write .setView. For the default view, I want to create a read-only field. Here, write private read-only default lat.lng. That is of type lat.lng tuple. And lat.lng tuple is like this. It's in fact an array. Its latitude should be 13.75 and its longitude is 21.62. You can set another place as your default location. Doesn't make a difference. So let's use this default lat.lng here. This.default lat.lng, and for the zoom level I want to set it to 1, and zoom level of 1 is like showing the whole world. Now that we created our map, let's say how we want to show it. As you know, a big map consists of a lot of small images that will be joined together as tiles and make the whole map. There's a function with the name of tile layer that is part of Leaflet. As the default tiles, we use this address that you can find in the comment link in the description below. That is tile layer system of OpenStreetMap. So it's free of charge and you can use it freely. Now that we have our tile layer, let's use add_to function for adding it to this.map. So now we know where is the default location, what is the zoom level of our map, and which tile engine it needs to use. For now, this is everything that we need to show the map on the screen. So let's use this initialize map method inside ng on init for now. Don't forget to put this dot at the beginning. But before seeing it inside the browser, we need to define the dimension of this div that we have inside the map component HTML file. So let's click here and go to the CSS file and write .container, set its position to relative, width to 35 rem, and its height to 22 rem. This is the size of the container. Set its text align to center. For the map class, set its width to 100% and its height to 100% too. So it will fill the whole container. Now let's check it out inside the browser. As you can see, we are not seeing it well. That's because when you add something to the angular.json, it will not work until you restart your Angular server. Let's do that right now. Get back to the code, go to the view and terminal. Select the instance for the front end, click here, press Ctrl+C for stopping it, then write npm start and press enter for running it again. Close the terminal. Let's get back. Now that we have our map beautifully placed here, it's time for adding a button here that when you click on it, it will show your current location. So first of all, let's add the button. Here, before the map, let's add a button with a class of find-location. But it has a click event that goes to the find my location that we didn't implement yet, but we are going to implement it. The text of the button could be find my location. First of all, for not having the error, let's copy the name of the method, go to the map component TS file, and here inside the class, let's define the method. Now we could be able to see the button without error inside the browser. But I don't want to show it here, I want to show it here. So let's do that with CSS. So let's go to the map component CSS file. Let's add a class for find-location. Its position should be absolute. Its margin should be auto. Its width should be 15 rem. Min height should be 3 rem. Font size should be 1.2 rem. Set its top to 0, left to 0, and right to 0. Set its z-index to 1000. So we are going to bring the button to the front. Set its background color to hashtag FFF that represents the white color, but with alpha channel of 7C. So it will be a little bit transparent. Set its cursor to pointer. And for its hover effect, find-location, hover, just set its background color to white. So there will be no transparency when you move your mouse over the button. And that's exactly what I want. Let's check it out inside the browser. Okay, very nice. When you hover your mouse, it will be no transparent anymore. Okay, now that we have our button, let's add the functionality to it. But for finding the default location of the user, we can use Navigator that is part of JavaScript. But I don't want to use it as JavaScript. I want to define it as observable inside the location service. So first of all, let's generate the location service. So from the view menu, select terminal and write nggs for generating the service inside services folder with the name of location. Then press enter. So here we can see that the location service is generated inside the services folder with the name of location service. Very good. Here after the constructor, I want to define a method with the name of getCurrentLocation. Its return type is observable with the type of lat.lng literal. And lat.lng literal just has a lat and lng field. Here we can return a new observable, and inside the constructor of the observable, you can define an observer method. So anytime anything changed here inside this method, this observer could inform this observable object. Let me tell you how is it possible. First of all, we need to check if the browser supports the geolocation of Navigator. So we need to say if Navigator, that is part of JavaScript, .geolocation is not available, then just return. Don't do anything. And otherwise, it means when Navigator.geolocation is available, return Navigator.geolocation.getCurrentPosition. It gets two inputs. The first one is success callback and the other one is error callback. We are going to implement both. For the success callback, that is the first one, we'll get the position and we can say observer.next latitude of position dot coordinates dot latitude and longitude of position dot coordinates dot longitude. And as I told you before, this part and this part coming from JavaScript. We are just wrapping it around an observable so we can use it similar to the way that Angular works, because Angular mostly works with observables, and that's great. For the error situation, we need another callback and we say, hey, observer, tell the observable that there is an error. Pass the error. Here we go. We could also do it with behavior subject, but it was unnecessary because behavior subjects are good in the situations that you want to change the value in different methods. Here we just want to change it inside this observer method that is part of the constructor of the observable. Very nice. And our getCurrentLocation method is ready. Close it. Then go to the map component.ts file. Inside find my location, we want to use that location service. But first of all, we need to add it to the constructor, right? private location service with the type of location service. Here we go. Go to the find my location and write this dot location service dot get current location. Now we have an observable that we can subscribe to it. Here we can pass an object, and inside the next method we'll get the lat.lng, and we are going to show it inside the console.log. So let's check it out inside the browser. Let's right click here and open up inspect. Go to the console, clear everything, click on find my location. Now that we have the current location from the navigator, let's show it on the map. We have several things to do. So let's go to the map component TypeScript file. The icon that we want to show on the map is called marker. And for the marker, I want to define two private fields. The first one is private read-only marker zoom level. That could be equal to 16. So when we show the marker on the screen, we need to set the view of the map on that location so the user can see where the current location's marker is set, so you can adjust it. The next thing is marker icon. Leaflet has a default marker icon, but I saw a lot of instability on Angular, so I decided to create a new one by myself. For creating an icon, you just need to copy this code, and this icon is part of Leaflet, so update import from the Leaflet. This image I uploaded by myself to the Cloudinary. So this is the image URL. This is the size of the icon that should be shown on the map. And this is the icon anchor, the part of the image that you want to be the anchor point on the map. Normally the sharp part of the image. Now the next thing that we need to add here is a field with the name of current marker. This is required with the type of marker. And marker is part of Leaflet. And remember, it has a big M because it is a type. So we have this current marker because we don't want to add more than one marker to the screen. So we are going to use it as the reference for the current marker. Now that we have every field for the marker, let's add the setMarker method for setting it to the map. Here after the find my location, add a method with the name of setMarker. First of all, we need to check if this dot current marker is already available. Don't forget to add lat.lng as the input for the set marker with the type of lat.lng. If the current marker is already available, set this dot current marker dot set lat.lng to lat.lng is coming from the input. Then return. Since we have more than one line, we need to put it inside curly braces. Here we go. We can put the return here, but it makes the code a little bit ambiguous. For this reason, I don't want to do that. Okay, now when we are here, it means the current marker is not available. So we need to generate a new one, right? This dot current marker is equal to marker. That is a leaflet function. Press enter. Its first parameter is lat.lng, and its second parameter is the options of the marker. Its draggable should be true, because we want to drag it, and its icon should be this dot marker icon that we created at the top, and we need to add it to this dot map. Okay, by using these codes we can show the marker on the map. So let's use it inside find my location. Write this dot set marker, the value of lat.lng. As you can see here, we have an error. It says that lat.lng literal is not assignable to the parameter of type lat.lng. If we hold the control down and click on lat.lng, we can see that lat.lng and lat.lng literal are different. Lat.lng literal, as I told you before, has only lat and lng, but lat.lng has lat.lng with a lot of functions and altitude as an optional parameter. Okay, so for putting this to work, we can use another mix type, that is lat.lng expression. You go inside the lat.lng expression, you can see that it could be lat.lng or lat.lng literal or lat.lng tuple. These are all the types that we are using, and all of them are the same. They just have a latitude and longitude, but with different expressions. So it's better to use lat.lng expression there. Here we go. No error here, and we have set marker on the find my location. But this is not enough. When you show the marker, as I told you before, you need to set the view of the map on the current location of the marker. So let's write this dot map dot set view to the lat.lng with the zoom level of this dot marker zoom level. the read-only field that we defined at the top. Okay, our find my location method is ready. Let's check it out inside the browser. Close the inspect and click on find my location. As you can see, it's showing the current location and you can drag it around because we set the draggable to true. Now, the only problem that I have is that I can only move this marker by dragging, not by clicking somewhere. For example, if I click here, the marker should not stay here. It should be moved here. Let's add this functionality. Here inside the initialize map, after the tile layer, write this.map.on click. Whenever the click event happens, this callback should be raised. It has an input with the type of leaflet mouse event. Then we can set the current location of the marker by using this .setMarker with the value of e.latlng. Now if we go to the browser, click here, as you can see, now we can click anywhere that we want. We're setting it as the current location, so you shouldn't only drag it. For example, you want to send the food to another address, you can click somewhere else and you're good to go. Now everything is good, and the only thing that remained is setting the current latitude and longitude to the current order. For doing this, I want to pass the order to the map component and set its latitude and longitude. So first of all, let's define the order as input for map. Here, define an input, the name of order, required, with the type of order. Okay, now let's go to the setMarker method and set its address, latitude, and longitude. But before doing it, for making it future-proof, I want to add a setter for setting the latitude and longitude to the order. I'll tell you the reason while I'm implementing the method. So write set AddressLatLng. It gets an input that is latlng with the type of latlng. Set latlng.lat equal to parse float with the type of latlng dot lat dot to fixed. Duplicate this for lng here and lng here. Then set it to this dot order that address latlng and make it equal to latlng. Honestly, this is not necessary for the front-end side. I did it for the MongoDB because on the MongoDB side, it couldn't accept a float with more than 8 floating points. So I made my latitude and longitude to fixed with 8 floating points. After that, I set it to the order's address latlng. Now at the beginning of the set marker, we can write this dot address latlng is equal to latlng as latlng. And as you know, this set keyword turns this method as a setter, so it could get the value using equal sign instead of calling a function. Now everything is good, but since we set this draggable to true, we didn't set any event listener for getting the current marker location after the dragging is finished. Let's do that here. Let's write this dot current marker dot on drag end, means when the dragging ended. Call this callback and set this dot address latlng equal to this dot current marker dot get latlng. Here we go. Now for checking that everything works flawlessly, let's add a console log here inside the setter of address latlng, console.log, with the value of this dot order dot address latlng. Since we set it at the top, it should have the value here. Let's check it out inside the browser. Open up the inspect, console, clear everything, close this. Okay, click on find my location. We have an error. Okay, it says that cannot read address latlng of undefined. It's obvious because we didn't pass any order from the checkout page to the map component. Let's do that. Let's open up the Explorer and open up the checkout page component HTML file. Here that we are using the map, let's write order is equal to order. So we are passing this order from checkout page to this order inside the map component. Here we go. Now let's check out the browser, go to the console, clear everything, click on find my location. As you can see, we have this location here. Let's test the click. Here we go. have the current location. Let's test the dragging. Okay, clear this, and you drag and you release it. It will show the current location. So we have the latitude and longitude in all situations. Okay, our map is beautifully ready. Now the problem that we have is when you log out, you could already be inside the checkout page. For example, we get back to the cart page, and if we click on proceed to checkout, it should redirect the user to the login page, and after login, this page should be shown. This is the moment that I need to introduce you with guards in Angular. With guards, you can check some condition for showing some components. That's what I want to generate right now. First of all, close everything related to the checkout page and map component. Then from the view menu, select terminal. Then write ng guard for generating a guard inside Auth folder, guards folder, with the name of Auth. Then press enter. It asks you which interfaces would you like to implement. I want to use the can activate, the default one, because it's the best place for checking a condition for showing or activating a component or not. So press enter. Here we go. Close the terminal and go to the Explorer. From the app folder, Auth folder, find auth.guard. First of all, before doing anything inside this authentication guard, I want to show you how they will be used. Go to the Explorer and find App Routing module. Here for the checkout route, we want to add the authentication guard. So we put a comma and we write can activate. It needs an array. So here we can pass our auth guard that we generated seconds ago. Now we will be able to see this checkout page component if can activate function inside this authentication guard return true. But it is already returned true, so there is no condition yet. Let's add the condition. First of all, before the can activate, put a constructor and inside it inject two things. The first thing is user service with the type of user service, and the second one is router with the type of router. We want user service for getting authentication status of the user, and we want router for redirecting the user when the user is not authenticated. Okay? Now here inside the can activate method, remove this return true and write if this.userService.currentUser.token, when the token is available, it means the user is authenticated. Then return true. Otherwise, use this.router.navigate function, pass the URL inside an array. This is the route of the login page, and pass an object with the field of query params with the object of return URL that we set inside the login page with the value of state.url. Then return false. This line will redirect the user to the login page with the query params of return URL that get its value from the state.url that has the URL of component that needs to be activated. Anyway, if the user is authenticated, the checkout page will be shown. Otherwise, it will not be shown. Now let's check out its functionality inside the browser. As you can see, we are automatically redirected to the login page with the return URL of checkout. Now if we log into the project, we will be automatically redirected to where we was before. So here inside the checkout page, that is a credential page. If we log out of the website, once again, we will be redirected to the login page. So assume you selected all of your foods and you are inside the cart page and you want to proceed to checkout. As you can see, it will redirect you to the login page. Now, if you log in, you will be redirected back to the checkout page. Okay, this was for this lesson. Thank you for being with me, and I hope to see you next time.